Hey guys, what's up? So today we're going to talk about subscription services and whether or not they make sense for guitar players. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so if you know me and you know this channel, then you know that I really like amp plugins. You know that I use them a lot. I feature them. I either demo them or I use them in a mix, or they are something that I use to demo certain types of equipment, especially like, pickups, sometimes even pedals. I'll even use pedals in front of amp sims, and it's just part of the fabric of what I do. So obviously at the top of my list and what I've been using the most and what I think is probably the best developed, maybe even best sounding, has been the neural DSP stuff. But you buy one plugin, one amp, and you are literally looking at $100+ just for that one particular sound. And granted, they have a lot of power, a lot of built-in stuff, but I'm kind of like, what else is out there that has a similar tonal quality? And it kind of dawned on me that there are some companies out there that offer subscription-based plugin services, usually more geared towards the recording aspect of things, doing the production side of things, And there's a lot of people who are really kind of anti-subscription. They want to own what they own and they want to have it forever. And I've been that way for a long time too. But I'm starting to come around and see the light of what a subscription service could offer in terms of kind of future-proofing the software landscape that I'm working in. And so today I want to talk about stltones and their amp hub and their tone hub services. And I'm going to say that I've worked the last week or so with both kind of setups. And right out the gate, for me and what I like to do, the amp hub is more in my wheelhouse. The tone hub is cool if you really like to kind of throw in a ready-to-mix tone into your DAW and just kind of hit go. It's a little bit of a cheat code for just getting a really cool and workable tone from a myriad of artists that are out there. And I get it. It was cool. It was fun. But I'm like the tweaker guy. I like to tone tweak. I like to go in. I like to open up the stuff. I like to mess around. I like to kind of customize what I do. And if you look at what, Amp Hub offers, you go to the STL website, when you do, go for their all access Amp Hub thing, you are getting, 45 different amps, I think like 37 pedals, like 30 or so cabinets with a bunch of different mic types. And, one of the things that was kind of like, okay, that's cool, but like, why is that like, like how good are these? How good can this really be? Once I actually dug into it and I started playing on some of the models, I was like, this sounds as good, if not better, than some of the stuff that like Neural DSP is doing. The only other thing that's kind of comparable to this, at least, on my machine here, is the Tonex or the Amplitude stuff. And I gotta say, the user interface and some of the tones on, the IK Multimedia stuff, it's just okay. Going back over to the Amp Hub, what really kind of draws me into the idea of a subscription service is they do seem to be adding new stuff pretty regularly to the, the catalog of stuff that they have built into this thing. And the other thing that kind of draws me into this particular model is the user interface and some of the functionality is exceptionally well built. And so let's go over and I'll pull up the Amp Hub software here and we'll just kind of go through it and some of the tones that I built, some of the things that you can get for it. And I just want to know people's opinions on this whole subscription service thing. Do you think this is worth it? Do you think these tones are even good enough to warrant spending what is essentially $100 per year to have access to these things? All right, so what I have pulled up right now is a tone that I kind of tweaked from a different preset. It's based off of the EVH 5153, the original 6L6 version, and I kind of try to dial it in to be kind of like, what I know these amps to sound like, because I do own an EV8 Stealth. And, right now all I have pulled up is just the amp itself here. So here's the tone as it sits right now, what I have. And to me, that sounds pretty good. We go over to the cab section. This is one of the things that also kind of clued me into, having this at my disposal, because when I was first starting, I had the free Ignite. I had the free, the NAD IR softwares that they offer. And this is like that on steroids in a lot of ways, especially this cab section. Pretty recognizable format here. The ability to move mics around. The ability to kind of have at your disposal low pass, high pass filters, a room mic, the ability to angle. So everything is just here that you would need to blend in different IRs, and you can use third-party IRs. You don't have to use their built-in ones, but the built-in ones are actually damn good. If you go to the drop down here, I mean, there's a lot to choose from, and and they're adding stuff all the time. In fact, I didn't even have time to go through everything. I just picked out things that I knew sounded good in the real world and just kind of went with them. Additionally, you have a post effects section you can use, and they have a pretty powerful array of stuff here. If you go into the effects section, you have all these time-based modulation stuff, EQs, pitch. Just a decent swath of stuff just to have. And if you go to the pre-effect stuff, obviously I have in, a boost here. This is actually based on one of my favorite boosts, the MXR modified badass overdrive. They actually have some pretty cool overdrives that you don't find in some other software packages. Like one of the things that they have here is, a Fortin 33 based one. They even have the TC Electronics preamp, that Meshuggah kind of used to make their sound initially famous before they got into working with Fortin. Pre-EQs, these can go pre or post. Some of these, they have a Boss, M2, you have the chainsaw sound, the H2, you have basically anything. They even have a Horizon precision drive, plumes, that's kind of cool. I also like the plumes from Earthquaker devices. They even have the what is this thing? The Bad Monkey, the thing that JHS kind of made famous, like all of a sudden. Yeah, just a lot. So going back over to the amplifier section, like I said, they have 45 amps. The newest one being based off the Rev G20. They have PV 3120. Never actually played one of those in real life. They do have a Bad Cat Lynx. Some of these things I might see. Here's where I get kind of on the fence about, where I want to go with this, because I'm kind of like a metal high gain guy. There's a lot of stuff in here that I may or may not use in the long term. Am I ever going to use a Fender DeVille 410? Probably not. I will definitely use an orange dual dark. Definitely use a 6505. For the most part, I'm looking at stuff that seems to be in my wheelhouse. Now, we get down a little bit further. The fact they have a Sovtech MiG 50, like I could use this 30-inch, baritone thing here, and that could be just like Sludge City. So I'm like, there's a lot of cool things in here. So let me go back, go down further. They also have what I think is really cool. They have just a power amp model. So there's a 6L6, EL34, and a KT88 power amp only model here. So if you want to use like a preamp pedal in front of your DAW, you can just use the power amp. So to me, that is interesting. Will I use a PV Classic 30? Maybe. Clean tones. There's Fender Bassman, Fender Deluxe. Probably not going to use it. One of the things that immediately got me to like this plugin was the fact that they have a Framus Cobra. So when I first started playing on the Cobra, I got this like immediate like kill switch engage vibe, and I just, it was what clued me into the fact that I might want to actually pull the trigger on this. Yeah, so in the end of Heartache, they were using I think the Framus Dragon amps. They were using the 6505, I think, in tandem. And I think there's a story about when they went to go do the Rosa Sharon take, that the Dragon had failed, and so they had to pull up a Cobra, and the Cobra was kind of like the stand-in, but to me, it's like one of the better tones on the album, and to me, it just sounds really fantastic. And couple that with the fact that, all I'm using here is basically a V30 rectifier cab with a 57, an oversized cab with greenbacks, but not just the standard G12M. These are the G12H. These are the Heritage 55 hertz. So they have a peak, resonance, a low peak resonance frequency of 55 hertz instead of the 75. And so if we, and you can isolate that cab. Very chunky, very beefy. You go over to the V30. With the V30 or with the 57, very treble heavy. You can even back that off maybe a little bit. But you mix in the two, go like 60-40. And both impulses or both cab captures, they're all phase matched. And just everything about this is kind of making me feel like this is a worthwhile investment. I will say that the tone tracking along the plane of the speaker here is a little bit less, I would say, gradient. The gradient is a little bit less smooth than maybe the cab section on the Neural DSP stuff. The other thing that I think isn't really a negative, but oftentimes gets kind of looked over, is the option paralysis nature of this kind of thing. So if you have this at your disposal, you're more likely to really kind of geek out and or focus in on the minutia of the tone stuff that, you might get a little bit too into the weeds, and you'll never quite settle on something, unless you absolutely have to. And I've been guilty of that, where, you get something with such a powerful array of stuff, and then you're just sitting there for hours just turning knobs until you realize that, you need to go to bed. So, just be aware of that. So if you look at some other things here, some other presets, we can go to here's something that's more based off of a Mesa Boogie. Very low end heavy, in fact, so low end heavy that it's actually clipping the output. Another negative thing that I think I might point out about this is there are wildly different output and volume parameters between the different amp models, and especially the presets. So whoever was developing the presets, a lot of people seem to have different ideas on what constitutes a good output level volume. So if I scale back, a couple dB, I'm no longer clipping. But with the Mesa stuff, you get that really nice scoopy thrash tone. Let's see here. And then they have some things that are more geared towards not the metal stuff. That's pretty clean for a Vox AC30. But not bad. Lead tones always come with just mountains of reverb and delay. That's cool sounding. That's got a lot of gain. Ingle. It's always cool to see like an Ingle. I think this is based off of the Fireball 60. So this is not the modern 100. This is the earlier version. A lot of people say these amps don't cut through in a mix very well, like in a live setting. It's a little thin sounding. Now I'm just basically cycling through presets. Now this is the Ignite Emissary. This is the proprietary amp that kind of, is the baseline for what STL is known for. I think this is something that you can get for free. At least it used to be. I don't know if it is still. Turn the gate up just a little bit. So that's cool, Gentology, so you can kind of guess where that's going. LL Chugga, this is another dual rectifier tone. Ooh, an 800. So 800s, even though they're kind of like these progenitors of like, modern metal, because people think about it. So like back in the 80s when bands like Slayer and Metallica and all these thrash bands and like, even some of the more like heavier stuff, Stormtroopers of Death, Celtic, like Celtic Frost, even, you're looking at like amp selections that weren't nearly as high gain as we have today. The 800 kind of was the ability to get loud and get aggressive, but you still had to help it out a little bit. So let's see what this sounds like. It's pretty quiet. So this is one of those ones that doesn't obviously clip. You could gain stage just a little bit better. Let me turn the master up. Not super high gain, but if we go to, something here, I'm going to switch this out for something a little bit more aggressive. And so this is kind of what it was back in the day, without these like monster high gain amps like the 5150 or even like the some of the Mesa Boogie Mark stuff. The 800 was kind of how you got a loud, just incredibly crazy metal sound, as long as you put something in front of it to just like drive the gain. So okay, and then here's a Plexi. So the same kind of situation going on here. A modified Plexi is basically what the Meshuggah tone is. And that's way more gain heavy. And I'm going to turn the output up to standard. Very crispy. I wonder if you can bridge. Can you bridge? You can. Oh, cool. So just like the real amp. No, I want to go here. Let's go input 1. No, stop it. There we go. That's what I want. That sounds cool. It's got a lot of fizzy grit on it. A lot of bass. Probably turn that down just a tad. What do we have driving it? We have the SD1. So yeah, a lot of flexibility with that particular amp type. Quacky blues, gotta gotta cover all bases. Recto. Very scoop. Don't know if I would use that. Could be more of like a supporting tone. Okay, the other thing, they have a slow SL100. I'm not going to do it here right now, but I did pull up the Soldano X from Neural DSP and kind of compared these two. I kind of like this one just a tad bit better. It could use some help on this preset though. A little more mids, treble, masters there, overdrive, turn that up. Presence doesn't need to be super high on these. We're on the crunch, we're on the bright setting. Cool, cool, cool. What are we boosting with? We have an 808 or something like a Maxon kind of here. I'm going to go back over to the TS9. Now, obviously, the cab section is your main tone shaper. Again, we're on the Cali rectifier, so basically like a Mesa style rectifier cab, and we're still on another rectifier cab. I don't know if I like having two rectifier cabs. Let me go back to the Zilla with the Heritage greenback. Yeah, that has a way better texture. Soldano's just a mean amp. Like it is like quintessential, 90s, even up to early 2000s. You can get almost any tone out of an SLO 100. They don't get super modern, djenty, but they, I don't know, metalcore for sure. So anyway, I'm not going to belabor the point here. I'm doing a lot of... I'm starting to get into that tone tweaking, just wanting to mess with everything kind of mode, and it's just making the video super long. I want to hear from you guys. What do you guys think about this whole subscription kind of trend when it comes to recording software, especially when it comes to something like Amp Sims? Do you think there's a real benefit to doing this over having individual plugins? I'm definitely leaning towards having this and having it as like my main go-to for just everything. And I think it makes sense. So you let me know. You tell me, what do you think? What do you think is worth the price of admission here? So anyway, that's my spiel for today. So go ahead and like, subscribe, do all that stuff. Definitely in the comments, let me know what you think. And I'll see you guys later.